Hello, my name is Alexis McCoy, and when I first thought about doing something innovative for this discussion, I became very overwhelmed because there was a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I had to keep short within this 7 minute video. But I'm going to discuss African Americans and how they tie into privilege and social justice. And to start this off, yes, I'm an African American female. And to be very innovative as well, I wore my sorority letters. I'm in the A Divine Nine, which has all Divine Nine organizations, sororities, and fraternities that support black organizations. And they have been organized since early as the 1900s or the 21st century for social and literary reasons. For that, it has encouraged me and motivated me and also inspired me to help my own community as well. And when I plan on working with African American children and families, I know that not only being an African American, I might can relate, but there might be things that I have missed or that I did not go through. So just because you are from a specific population does not mean that you know everything about that population. We go through different things and we experience on a different level. Now, with that being said, I have chose two words in their definitions, and I'm going to tie in how social workers can contribute to increasing their cultural competency with this population. Now, privilege is one, and social justice is two. And I'm also going to throw in oppression as this ties to this population because we deal with this pretty much on a daily basis. There's things on social media and the news about oppression, and it's becoming a continuous cycle as we view oppression, privilege, and social justice. Now, privilege is a special right granted to a specific group or person. Now, with that being said, how can African Americans relate to this? More so from my experience, when I am a profession. I'm in the working profession, and I encounter things on the job all the time where I see things that necessarily don't apply to one group, but they may apply it to the next, or they might make you out of the example for others to follow. Whether um my example and things that I have seen is when someone right out of high school, they're not black, they're Caucasian, but someone straight out of high school gets a position, maybe they're working on the exec board or they get to work in a private setting, and I'm like, okay, does she not have a degree? Or does she? Did I miss something? But it's very upsetting to see those that get to progress in that field that you so desire to work in. And I know I could have advocated for things like this to become in place, but it is very hard to be just that one person advocating for social justice or for change whenever you see things of privilege um, taken on. But I feel as though also when you're out of line on the job, they want to enforce rules right then and there. They want to make an example out of you by writing you up for things such as might be, wearing open toe shoes. But oh, let Sally wear open toe shoes and it's fine. They make excuses for it. But let it be Alexis McCoy and I get written up. The rules aren't applied across the board. They're not applied. And when I think of social justice, the distribution of wealth and opportunities, I think about governmental assistance and the pay that we receive. It's different when we're trying to provide for our family and we're getting the bare minimum. But I have worked behind a desk where I have worked on the other side of the desk, and knowing that some people get more than others because they know how to work the system. Now, sometimes they don't even get background checks whenever they want governmental assistance. It's easy for them to get access to those resources, whereas we have to work harder to get access to those resources to provide for our family. You know, a stigma is always placed on African Americans in general whenever we want things or whenever we need things to help us progress. So, with that being said, I read this article and it made plenty of sense. It's the reason why it's hard for us to progress in within a adversity situation or when we are oppressed. There may be a lack of resources. There may be a lack of education that has an effect on our progression and servicing for our own communities that we want to work in. So things that keep us down or away from progression might be the lack of investment in organizing has limited the available pathways for new black activists to enter organizing work. And the places where African American activists may convene, share lessons, and learn about organizing efforts. So, within this article about radically healing black lives, it's a love note to justice, new directions for student leadership. And they mention how um there are two different types of generations and we're going through a totally different change, whether it's within oppression, social justice, and also with privilege. You know, policies have changed. The groups that we organize to better our communities have changed. The professions have changed. The number of professions within our minority group have changed. You know, there might have been a decrease in the working profession of social workers, psychiatrists, city councils. And sometimes I read within this article, and it made sense too, that sometimes people view changes as working towards getting a better city council, judges, getting black judges, judges that have been inside the community. They know what the community needs, and they know what they can offer to the community. And that might be the only way that we can advocate for change as social workers is by maybe putting your name on the ballot, you know, advocating for yourself as well as for your community that you want to work with. And, you know, basically holding on to your promises because people are looking at you whenever you're advocating for change and servicing yourself towards change. But African Americans are sensitive to these types of situations that involve us going against privilege. And social justice is a battle. It's a continuing battle for many leaders and activists to seek firmness. You have to be firm, and you have to stand firm to your word, and you have to be very, you have to be very strong when hitting with these different types of obstacles. And making sure that policies are put in place to protect the African American population throughout each generation, as I mentioned before. We had a civil rights movement, but now there are different movements called the Black Lives Matter. And then you have different movements that might be for better pay on the job. You know, you have movements such as those that, contribute towards social injustice because we're looking towards justice. And some strategies I have also looked up and I would love to take on to increase my sense of cultural humility is to also dig deep into the mindset of the oppressed population, such as African Americans, maybe the Muslim, Indians, the Hispanics, or the Native Americans, because these populations, they have gone through enough experiences to distinguish between justice and inequality. And most times these populations experience these type of experiences on a daily basis. Now, coming from an African American population where it is a constant battle of oppression and social justice, it has become a norm to where most have settled that this will never be a day where justice is sought. The rallies we put on, the marches we take part in, they still have made us silent about our issues within our community. Another way of going about developing a sense of cultural humility is as stated in the Nassau Code of Ethics. As for social workers, we should become active by becoming involved with the oppressed population, and it is our duty to stir up social change and to be an advocate for the oppressed. Now, these activities might include, as stated in the Nassau Code of Ethics, to seek to promote sensitivity and the knowledge about oppression and cultural diversity. Now, social workers will need to strive to ensure access is needed, information, services, and resources, and just striving to bring equality about in our community and to be an opportunity where it needs to be built. And I just want to go and reiterate about what I said, that it is very important for us to be educated, to be strong advocates within our own communities, especially as minorities. And it is important to continuously gain, the cultural competence that we need to work with our population of interest. Although we might come from that population, we all grew up on a different scale. You might grew up in poverty. I might grew up just going to school where education was important. Education might have been a thing. We sacrifice many things to get what we want. So with that being said, I enjoyed doing this assignment. I know it was long, but this was a very high interest that I had in this particular assignment. And thank you for watching. And my name is Alexis McCoy, and this concludes my presentation.